It's way past time I dispense some indiscriminate justice!
G'day guys, Duckville here. We're going to have a replay from the Korean ladder. This is going to be between a Terran and a Zerg down here in the red as the Terran, of course. I just totally forgotten what I was going to say. This is a Korean. His name, I actually had no clue what his name translated out as, but those of you who are Korean and can read Korean will now know that this guy's name roughly translates out as My Life for Aiur. So he's a bit of a, perhaps a Protoss fan, ironically playing Terran. I'm not actually sure. Thank you very much to Scientists MJ on Twitter, who has been helping me out with some of the translations that I haven't been able to get. Who has just quickly helped me out quick smart with this one, which was quite useful because I did a little quick check of the early part of this game, and it is looks to be a pretty cool game between these two guys. So we'll see what happens. Over here up in the top right hand corner we do have SlaveZenith, one of the, I think, one of the B teamers from Zenith, or Zenex I suppose they are now, but he's our Zerg up here in the blue. Now obviously this is Xel'Naga Caverns. For those of you who aren't aware, this is one of the very, very popular maps. This came out not too, I think about halfway through Season 1 of the StarCraft 2 ladder season, but it's been a very popular map. It's generally considered to be quite balanced, and it's just generally all around a very good map, especially for Terrans. I think some people would be in favor of this as a Terran map towards mid-game, because you can do such things as put down a planetary Fortress of Doom here at the Gold expansion, and then it is incredibly hard to break through that unless you have some very good strats. Now of course I am talking as at the very high level. It can be very hard to break through something like that, so that is something we may see perhaps from, I'm going to call him Aiur, just because it's easier to say than My Life for Aiur every time, and every time I say My Life for Aiur I keep wanting to do it in some sort of zealot voice, perhaps in the voice of Phoenix, but anyway, we do see that Aiur has actually put down a standard sort of wall off here. We do have the racks and the two supply depots just going down there. A Marine is chasing away at this drone. Very, very quick reactions there from Aiur to put down the refinery, not actually finishing the construction of it, just making sure that the drone of Slave is not going to actually get a chance to do the little extractor build and then cancel trick, which is incredibly annoying. I in fact almost lost the game the other day to someone who was doing that just because it was getting so incredibly damn annoying, and also because I'm bad at Terran. But we do see that he has now actually taken this second gas and has got some SCVs in there. It wasn't some sort of fake out to try and get that built and then pretend that he was going to get that, because as we can see here, he does have a factory on the way along with the reactor. So we're probably going to see double Hellion here from Aiur, so he's going to get that out. It is a very good, a very standard sort of build on this map to get out a couple of Hellions, run up here into the Zerg expansion, and just try and take down some drones from the back here if possible. Now of course, for Zergs to actually defend that, you either need some roaches out if possible, or a couple of queens, or if you really want to go the distance, grab a couple of spine crawlers and just be very good with their positioning. So for the moment we do see that Slave has actually gotten a roach warren, so he's going to be getting some roaches out soon, and he's probably going to utilize those to defend against the inevitable Hellions that will come along here from Aiur. Now we do see that Aiur actually has double starport building. Now the way that he's going to utilize that, I would assume, is going to be for some Banshees perhaps. We do see from time to time we do see double port attacks with Banshees, and now that we do see some roaches are out on the map, of course roaches have no way to shoot at the Banshees because they just sort of sit there and look at the ground, and that's about it. Meanwhile over here we do see that the Rax has been teching up there, got a tech lab on the way. Perhaps we will see some Marauders popping out perhaps from Aiur. He may utilize those to make sure that he can defend against any incoming roaches. And speaking of incoming roaches, we do have two coming in here now. They're going to have a little poke up the ramp to see what is there. They see a bunker, a couple of Marines, not actually too much to try and defend against these roaches. So Slave's just going to go to town on this bunker here. Almost took out one of those Marines, took out a little bit of health on one of them. One of these roaches is almost dead, but he's certainly in a very interesting position here. This is a very cool wall, by the way. I'll just mention this is a nice little hard wall here from Aiur, he's actually gotten that there, and he's able to actually defend against any possible Baneling bust as well. We do see that double Banshees are being produced here by Aiur, so he's definitely going to have a lot of air power once these Banshees come out. This will obviously be able to hold off these roaches. I'm assuming perhaps he's going to try and use these to deflect these roaches, but it looks as if we do have an Overlord that went down. It was actually scouting across here and decided that it's going to pop along for this journey with these roaches. The roaches are going to be able now to shoot up to the high ground, as we can see here, and there he goes. He is going to actually poke away at that tech lab. There isn't actually anything coming along from the tech lab because all the gas has been invested in those double Banshees, which are about to be completed, but the tech lab does go down. One Marauder is going to pop out. There will be 3 Marauders, which I would think should be enough to hold off this attack for the time being, but he's going to have to move across that. Rax does indeed move it along. We did see some Banshees just flying up towards the Zerg base. Up there, we'll keep an eye on those in a minute, but it looks as if we do have perhaps an inevitable attack here from Slave. He's going to poke up the ramp, maybe see what he can do, but there isn't really much he can do. Meanwhile, back in the Zerg base, we do have those Banshees just coming up now. Only 1 Queen to defend at the moment. There are actually no Spore Crawlers being built just at the moment. In fact, we do have 1 inside the main, a 2nd at the main, but these 2 Banshees are going to town on these Queens, using a little bit of micro there to try and keep the Banshees alive, losing 1 of them in fact, but the 2 Queens go down for the price of 1 Banshee, and the Banshee will now have a field day with these drones. In fact, the 3rd Queen now coming along from Slave, trying to do his best to take out. The Banshee does take it out, but this 3rd Queen is going to go down along with a lot of those drones that were lost, and now the Banshee is going to have to poke around to see if he can find any holes at all in the defenses of Slave. But Slave is doing a fantastic job here, just keeping his drones alive, pushing them around to make sure that they are protected against any of these Banshee attacks. Meanwhile, just down here, we didn't actually have too much happening for Aiur to deal with, so he's certainly doing a nice job of holding up for the moment here with those couple of Marauders that are out, along with the Banshees that are now along to defend against these roaches. And the roaches are going to have to run away because there's no way they can shoot at these. But we do see that the extra Banshees do come along, and they're going to be able to take out most of these roaches. You would assume a few Lings are down here as well. Stim and a Raven are on the way, so a Raven, that could be very interesting to see what Aiur is actually going to do with that. Where is that extra starport gone? I'm not actually sure. Oh, it's over here, sorry. Right in front of me, it's right here on the reactor, so he may actually set up to get some, perhaps some medevacs out to make sure his bio army is supported there. But we do see that a couple of extra Spore Crawlers have been put up here by Slave, so he's quite well defended against any sort of Banshee pressure here. The Banshees will be able to shoot around at random units, and in fact a random drone that was just transferring over, 2 drones in fact, and he's just going to be able to control a bit of the map, of course, with no way for Slave to actually bring about these Zerglings and the roaches to try and attack into this into the main here. He's not going to be able to do much at all, but as we can see, we do have a couple of extra racks up now for Aiur, and he's going to be able to pump out a lot of bioforce. We do have this Raven here. The Raven is going to do 2 things. It's going to let Aiur actually use his energy on the command centers for more mule drops, and of course it will save those scans for perhaps later if he needs them at all, if he was to go down that particular path as well. But we do see 2 Hellions finally getting out onto the map. The original strategy of Aiur is finally coming into play here, and meanwhile Zenith just Slave, sorry, up the top here, shooting away at these rocks, going to try and get that prepared for if he does want to take that gold expansion. And we'll see if he is going to go for that. He's certainly in a little bit of an interesting position. We do see that the harvest account is still favouring Slave just for the moment. He's up to 45 drones to the 33 SCVs of Aiur, but a scan just going down, revealing what is here in the main of Slave. Sees that there is the Hydralisk Den, and it is pumping away, getting the groove on for those Hydras, and the roach speed is on the way as well. So whilst this has been going on, we do see that Aiur has taken this natural expansion. He's got 1 gas up down here than that. He's not actually putting all SCVs into it. I'm not sure if that's on purpose or if he's just perhaps forgetting to put that in, but he's trying to do his best to make sure he is in a good position to hold off any possible Zerg attacks which may come along. Now, one good thing which he is doing here with these Hellions is checking out any possible third expansions. You want to make sure you can either keep up with the Zerg if possible, or make sure you can limit their mining at any third expansions that they may have up. Now we do see the Banshees are actually holding the gold, sorry, not the gold, I was going to say the gold towers, but they're actually not made of gold, they're made of Xel'Naga. But he's going to be able to hold those for the moment. A couple of Lings just down here in the back in the alleyway here. The Junker's secret, what is it? The Common Knowledge Hallway, John's Common Knowledge Hallway. But now we do have a push coming up here from Aiur. He's going to bring up a couple of tanks, some Marines, and a few Marauders, along with some Medevacs. Along with these Banshees, this could be a very interesting push. We do see very awesome creep spread there by Slave. He's going to now have to deal with this incoming attack. There are a couple of tanks. Where are both the tanks? No, both the tanks just sort of holding up here for the moment. They're going to hack away at some of these these creep tumors. I keep going to call them spore tumors. I don't know why. Maybe it's from that movie, Coffee, I don't know. Anyway, we've got a lot of Banelings morphing in now from Slave. He's going to have a decent amount. He's currently got a whole bunch of 6 morphing in now. There's 15 already, so he's going to have a total of 21, I believe. But down here we do have a counter-attack trying to hold up the attack from Aiur. He's got some Lings in here. They're going to do a lot of damage. They already took out one tank, and they're going to try and do what they can to some of these SCVs. The SCVs have decided they are out of there because they are running away. You're going to lose a few of them, but meanwhile the attack has commenced here from Aiur. He's got this Raven in here. Oh, a point defense drone. He's going to put the point defense drone here to help out against those spore crawlers to make sure that the Banshees are protected. Meanwhile, these Banelings coming along here, some attempted splits, but bam, the Banelings rolling through there, taking out Marines and tanks with malice. And we do see that the Banshees and a couple of lone Marines are the only things left over here for the moment. The point defense drone doing a great job of helping out with defending against the Queens, and obviously the spore tumors, God, I said it again, the spore crawlers as well. And we do see that he's not going to be able to, I would not think he's going to finish off Slave at all, but he definitely will be doing a lot of damage there. The Lings are trying to come through here. The door is open, but there are way too many guys blocking the front door. Those bouncers at the front with their combat shields are not going to let anyone in, and these Lings are going to have to retreat for the moment. They do retreat just down here into the behind the grass. They're not going to be able to do too much from there, but that was pretty much it. The Banshees have actually done a huge job here inside the natural expansion with the protection from that point defense drone, although its energy has just run out now. He actually was able to do a very nice amount of damage here. In fact, if we have a look at the workers killed tab, we actually have Aiur in front here. He has killed 36 drones to the very small 18 SCVs that are being killed by Slave. So he's actually done a really good job there. That point defense drone helping out with the Banshees was just fantastic there. And now we do see a counter attack from Slave trying to come through here, and he's going to do his best to try and even up the score. There are no Vikings popping out just yet. He's going to use the Marines, of course, with their stim to try and hold out these Mutalisks. As we can see, they are flying around in a very decent flock. We do have a total of, how many was it? 14 Mutalisks for the moment. They're going to run around here catching this Raven off guard. The Raven's going to have a lot of trouble with helping out with any more points defense drones now. But this could be another push perhaps from Aiur. If he can just sort of drive away these Mutalisks for the moment, he may try and push again. There's certainly a lot of Marines and how many tanks have we got? 4 tanks here, along with a whole fleet of Medevacs. There are 6 Medevacs in total here, which will certainly help out. A supply drop depot is about to go down. That is about to burn down. That is really going to annoy Aiur for the moment. He's going to have to rebuild perhaps quite soon. He actually dropped a lot of supply there. He still does not have a secondary gas at the natural expansion yet. I'm very surprised to see that. He has blocked off the hallway here down at the back with an engineering base, so he will not let any more of these Lings in the back. Meanwhile, here comes the push, and Slave actually catching some of these tanks out. The Marines getting a little bit ahead of their companions here. The tanks are actually going to be in a lot of trouble. Perhaps putting those tanks on a separate hotkey along with the Marines and using the Marines by themselves would be a better idea. But what he's doing, as you can see here, he's actually stimming in and sending the Marines towards the Vikings, towards the Mutalisks, sorry, and actually sending the tanks with it. So that actually brings the tanks back into range. Now this is going to be very detrimental to the cause of these Marines. if they're going to lose their tanks that they're meant to protect. But the tanks are now moving into position here. He's sieged up 2 of them. If any attacks come along from Slave, he's going to have to be very careful about it. He does have a lot of banelings. We do see 14 banelings out along with those 13 mutalisks, but the mutalisks are actually starting to lose a few of their number. They've actually been cut down to 12. They do take out some of those Marines, but the Marines are now going to be doing their best to split up to hide from those banelings. There are still more banelings morphing in. The trouble that that Slave actually has at the moment is his minerals for something a bit different. He's actually way on top of his gas, but the problem he has is the minerals because he lost so many drones. But here comes the attack with a decent split on those Marines. Not fantastic, but he does lose a lot of those Marines there. A secondary ball off to the side also going down. That was absolutely huge there by Slave, doing a great job cleaning that up. He did lose a few mutalisks in that attack, but he's done a great job of holding this off before it did too much damage. And if he can polish off the rest of these medevacs, he will be in a fantastic position, because as we'll see in just a moment, the income for Aiur is going to be in great jeopardy, because as we can see down here, we actually have the main expansion mined out. The natural is it's actually down quite low on some of these patches here. As we can see, there's a couple of them here with still a decent amount, but definitely not sitting in a great state with his income. He is going to need to move out, perhaps either take this third, take the gold, perhaps if he can get up there and take that one out, or if he's going to be sort of in the general bit-by-bit mindset, he may just have to go for some sort of all-in attack. Now, as you can see here, we do have some baneling landmines. I do love to see baneling landmines in game, so I would love to see if he can pull some of those attacks off. But what we do have is a drop here off the side of the cliff. Not really sure why those Marines decided to get out there. Perhaps they ran out of fuel because of the price of oil these days, but the medevac is going to have to retreat. There are way too many lings along with those mutalisks that may come off to the side as well, but it looks as if we do have some Marines running up here. The lings are going to be able to swarm across them. Tanks taking out some of their own brethren there, with the Marines going down to the splash damage from the tank fire. Mutalisks coming in here. Now, if we keep an eye on what Slave is up to, he does see the 2 turrets there. What he's doing is being very careful with those mutalisks, bringing them across. Bam! And the mines go off. Those Marines are getting absolutely annihilated there by those baneling bombs, and the lings trying to come in to finish off the rest of them, bringing in the mutalisks as well to take out the rest of those Marines. And they're going to do a lot of damage, trying to fly off to the side to see if he can actually bring in another group of Marines to try and run them over those baneling bombs again that are up to the north. But he's not going to be able to, because now we actually have a bit of awareness from Aiur that those are present. So he's probably going to use a few scans. He'd love to have that Raven around still, but he's not going to have it. Baneling mine does not go off. Bit of a moon-style glitch there with those banelings, but he does have a lot to contend with now. He's got these mutalisks flying all sorts of directions to try and make sure he's covered in every single direction he can. He now has to contend with a couple of tanks and a few Marines off to the side. These tanks are now very, very undefended from the sky. As we can see, the Marines have to come back. They are going to stem up here, take out a lot of these mutalisks. A bit of miscontrol there by Slave. He's actually lost a few of those mutalisks, and in fact, some of them are quite low on their health as well. And we did see a transfer from Slave. He's going to send those drones around to the extra base, which is down here at the 3 o'clock position. So whilst he will definitely lose this third over here, he's actually sort of essentially resaturated this one across at the 3 o'clock position. So he's not actually too phased by that. If we have a quick look at the income tab, we do have Slave just in front by about 200 to 300 minerals at the moment. He's just beefing that up now while the mutas try and take out an extra tank. They do take one. There is still one left over. He's going to have to bring all of these home. There are a few more Marines and tanks still building up, so he's going to have to be very careful. Some baneling landmines still present in the middle, so Aiur is going to need to be very, very wary of those that may come in. In fact, speaking of banelings, we do have them rolling across here. They see me rolling, and they be splashing all over everything. And the banelings just going to town on all of these Marines, splashing which way, and the mutalisks just finishing off the rest of these very injured, lonely Marines. Now, we have these mutalisks obviously still in a decent number, not a total death ball of mutalisks, but he's certainly got enough to take care of some of these forces. In fact, I would say perhaps, given the actual units that Slave has out, he could be in a winning position here, whilst he's perhaps struggling on the minerals at this expansion here. He's getting a bit low. He does have this one, as we mentioned, which is well in position to provide him with a lot more income. And now, as we see, this command center is actually undefended. This command center was attempting to land on the creep, but that sexy carpet on the ground was not letting him land. Command Center may be in trouble here. The Marines are doing their best to try and run through the rocks, but the rocks are going to hide the Command Center for the moment, and down it goes. The Mutalisks have done their job. That is a huge win there for SlaveZenith. He's now obviously in a great position. He's taken out the potential third of Aiur, and now Aiur does not actually have too many more minerals left over. There's enough for another command center, or another couple other command centers, but the problem he's going to have is whether to use the minerals for that, or whether to use them for a for some more offensive units. Now, as you can see here, being very cautious of those bailing bombs which were present in the middle, took out a couple of them, is now running up these Marines, perhaps being in a little bit uncautious, or incautious, I don't know, whatever that word is, because the tanks are in a little bit of trouble here. The Marines, once again, a little bit out of position to defend against all of these Mutalisks. There are a total of 20 Mutalisks out. That is definitely a troublesome number for Aiur to deal with. He's going to have to be very careful with what he does here. He's obviously trying this last push to try and do what he can to win this game, but it looks as if there are going to be great preparations here from Slave. He's got a couple of bailing bombs set up here. This tank is in a world of pain in just a moment here. These bailings are going to probably jump up in just a second. There they go, rolling into battle, in fact going into a bad position, but from the other flank, some more bailings and the Mutalisks coming in here, and that is probably going to be it, I would assume, from Aiur. He's done his best to try and push through this Zerg defense, but there is just not enough. Whilst these Marines have got their +1, the tanks don't have any upgrades. These Mutalisks don't have any upgrades at all, but I think the bailings do have one. Yeah, they do. The bailings have +1 to their weapons, so they're going to be in a fantastic position. And here we go, rolling in here, finishing off the rest, and of course blocking off this expansion with some more bailings. Brilliant job there by SlaveZenith to just deny a lot of the attacks that were pushed through by Aiur, and just obviously keeping in check his economy and making sure that he's in a good position to resupply his units if they do fall to any of the Terran forces. So that was a great game there by SlaveZenith. Hope you guys enjoyed that one. If you do have any other replays yourself, please be sure to send them through to duckvillelol@gmail.com, and I will look them up and see if I can cast them for you. And of course, do have a quick look at the 4v4 mini guide series, which I have been doing as well. If you're into some 4s, make sure you have a look at those, and perhaps you can join me. Add me on Twitter, duckvillelol. Cheers.